Hey, my name's Todd, and I have done content within the sphere of political analysis and various kinds of philosophical thoughts related to empowering men. I'm trying to understand better the world that we live in the West, and as I said, specifically within the field of political analysis, trying to be honest and truthful. One could say that I might be considered a more of a dissident. So um, the reason that I'm on the stream is because I want to explain with my perspective about what happened with this American Chilean journalist Gonzalo Lira in his unfortunate predicament of essentially being in prison in a country that the United States has given huge amounts of support to, as well as many other countries, most of the Western countries, have in some way given support to this country, this failed state. Now, I'm a person that's actually lived in Russia. I've spent time in other Eastern European countries now. I'm actually in Poland right now, and I'm not going to lie. Like, if there were people who saw this, what I'm pointing out here now, even here in Poland, I could literally be in danger with some of the yahoos that you see coming from Ukraine into Poland now. And I mean, that's just the state of affairs. Now, with that being said, fortunately, there are some Poles that are waking up to this and they are realizing that this whole thing is a scam. Pivoting back over, though, to Gonzalo Lira, what I would say is this is that this is a man that um, had convictions. He was in the red pill space, and irrespective of what one wants to say about that content, I mean, I myself didn't share 100% of the same ideas with him on some of the red pill content. I think some of his takes were a little bit different than mine, but overall, I did see that there were many truths that he was putting out there. And so with that being said, this was a man who put himself out there. As I understood, he had some kind of like wife or girlfriend in Ukraine, and then he had children with her, and he made his way over there, was living there, I suppose, for them. And this is where I disagree with his decision. So, for a man who was born in 1968, he was 55 years old. You're living in a country like Ukraine that is effectively a dictatorship at this point. This is a global homo dictatorship. And I think sometimes some people get used to that. They become complacent. They've grown up in the West and maybe they think, oh, well, it'll be fine. All will be good. And so that's what surprised me about Gonzalo is the fact that he stayed there. And I myself knew that he was in grave danger just knowing what I know about these Eastern Slavic societies. I myself have gone to jail in Russia. Now, I'm not putting Russia down. Like I made some mistakes when I had settled there, and ultimately I paid the price. I didn't spend a lot of time in jail. It was just for a short time, but I know how the system functions in that part of the world. And the thing with Gonzalo is that dealing with the Ukrainians is that these are not people that are acting in good faith. I mean, we hear in the West, not as much now. I know the war doesn't get as much attention these days between Russia and Ukraine, but we hear in the West that Ukraine is supposedly fighting for for rights, for freedom, for all of this kind of nonsense. And what we really see is that this is not the case. In reality, Ukraine is a failed state. It had a failed model. It didn't work. It was hyper aggressive to its neighbor, of course, Russia. And eventually, Russia got fed up. Now, obviously, Russia, yes, was a stronger country, a bigger country, had a more formidable, much more formidable military and economic strength. Nevertheless, though, when you are acting like an extremely aggressive rogue state, which is how Ukraine was behaving, what can you expect? And I have my own feelings about this war going on in the Donbass region. Sometimes how I see it is that it's something like what we had in America, the supposed Civil War. Now, anyone that knows what an actual civil war is, it was not a civil war. The Confederates wanted to break away from the United States of America. And guess what? It wasn't allowed. That's not a civil war. That was something that was authorized within the Constitution. They wanted their own country. So that does not fit the definition of a civil war. I mean, we think about one of the words that's used for American independence, American Revolution. Well, I would say that was a Confederate Revolution. And one of the reasons I bring this up is I think what you're seeing in Ukraine is something similar to that. Now, Gonzalo, he put himself out there. He was putting out content in the red pill space. And unfortunately, he stepped too far. So he had that initial imprisonment, which unfortunately for him, I think, was just a sort of taste of what was to come. And literally his life was in danger. Now, on his video, at least several of his videos, when he put that he had escaped and what he was doing, I had told him, get out of there. Don't you can't be trying to get out of the country the legal way, because there was no legal way he could get out. And the fact of the matter is that he could have jumped the border. He could have crossed that no-goes or the this kind of death strip, I guess, between Russia and Ukraine, the front lines, basically. Personally, if it was me, I would have just taken the risk, because it's like, no matter what, your life is in danger. So either you're going to die from God knows what. I mean, it's reported as pneumonia, but I don't, who knows what the exact cause actually is. But I mean, it did seem like he actually was ill based on what his father had said. So his life was endangered. So it's like, why? I mean, why does it matter at that point? I mean, he could have taken out Ukrainian soldiers. He could have killed them justifiably because he was speaking out. It was free speech. Gonzalo Lira could have killed border guards trying to get out of Ukraine if they tried to stop him, and he would have moral justification to do so. Why do I say this? I'm not encouraging someone to do this. I'm just saying that he had a legitimate reason to use whatever force was necessary to get himself out of that country. And unfortunately, I guess he thought he could just do it the legal way, even though everything in Ukraine is illegal. They don't follow the laws with almost anything. And it just, as I said, it kills me, because like I know he could have gotten out. Like if he had just done things the illegal way, whether that would be trying to cross over the Carpathian Mountains, whether that be trying to cross over the front lines, excuse me, in the Donbass region, or some other means, there would have been a possible mechanism to do that. And unfortunately, he didn't do it. So of course, he went back to I don't know. Well, I guess he went back to jail or some jail, prison, who knows. And at that point, he was really a dead man walking, we might say. So why do I think this happened? So this is the big picture, the major point of what I'm going to say is that I think that this was an authorized hit by the Biden administration. They knew about it. The wealthiest man in the world, Elon Musk, knew about this. I mean, anyone and everyone with any kind of power within the Biden administration knew about this. One simple phone call, and he could have gotten Gonzalo Lira out. In fact, you know what I wonder? Maybe the Ukrainians offer. Who knows? I mean, they could have even offered to the Biden administration in their negotiations for weapons, for God knows what. It may have even been offered to the Biden administration. And I can guarantee you what was done. No, let the guy rot. Or the Biden administration could have just said, you guys take care of him. And for anyone that doesn't believe that's possible, that the U.S. government would attack its own citizens, well, trust me, if you think that's out of the realm of possibility, It's not. There's historical trends you can look at. Some of the dirty wars in Latin America, what was going on. You can look at other events that have happened around the world and understand that the U.S. has been involved with very nefarious things involving its neighbors or even sometimes its own citizens. So for Gonzalo, of course, this video can't resurrect him. And while I can't say that I knew the guy, I mean, I certainly respected some of his ideas. We maybe had some points that we didn't agree on with certain things, but overall, I think he really brought a breath of fresh insight. He was a voice of truth, of reason. I mean, I think back to some of the red pill points he said, and in fact, it was actually one of his videos where he was talking about dating, about, I think it was like dating women that are like 25 or around the age of 25, something like that, where I realized that he was actually living in Eastern Europe, because the stuff he was saying sounded exactly like what I was experiencing in Russia. He was, of course, located in Ukraine, but how he was describing things, I realized at that point that he was probably living in Eastern Europe, and sure enough, he was. So, yeah, as I said, I really, what can I say? It's a great tragedy, and it's my sincere belief that the Biden administration is in some way connected to this, and it's unfortunate. And we think about that degenerate Griner, that mixed race lesbian basketball player, who was like the Biden administration bent over backwards for. So on one hand, they're putting out all this information about, or all this propaganda about this Victor Bout, supposedly the world's most dangerous arms smuggler. And it's like, okay, so he is worth making a trade with this degenerate basketball player, this eyesore for America. That's an equal trade. But that, unfortunately, is the current agenda of not only the United States, but what I call the greater Western global homo. And regretfully, there's not a lot that I can do about it at this point. I mean, I try my best. My plan moving forward is that I am going to start putting out more content, because I really I like connecting with those out there, and hopefully we can spread the voice of truth and reason. It's not always easy, and especially when I see things like this occur, because it's impossible to deny that the Biden administration wasn't in some way complacent, maybe even directly ordered the hit. I don't have access to the documents, but there was definitely some kind of involvement. I know what the Ukrainians are about, and I'm sure there's some decent people from Ukraine. Unfortunately, my experience with Ukrainians has also been very negative. I can't say much good about them. I've encountered some of them here in Poland even, and they're just not honest people. They're liars. They're scumbags. This is generally what I find. I would like to say better. I would like to say that I've had good experiences with them, because I have known some Russians where I had some good experiences, good moments. I mean, unfortunately, the romantic relationships I had with some Russian girls all ended. They all broke up with me. But with that being said, I would like to say good things about Ukrainians, but I can't. The ones I've encountered have all been liars, and they're just not honest people. It's a very low trust society, and I think that you fuse that with the Biden administration. And unfortunately for Gonzalo, he was a dead man walking. I mean, at the point that he was able to get out, when he was on that motorcycle, I knew when he put out that video, they're not going to let him through. Of course not. Like, I mean, you don't have a chance. You're going to have to go through the border illegally. There's no chance that they would let him through. They wanted him dead, and it also comes to show that I know not all of you are, might not identify as MGTOW, let's say. Whether you do or don't, one thing I will say is do not expect that just because you have a marriage, like a wife or girlfriend or something from a different country, that she's really going to be of much use to you when you move to that country. And I've seen this firsthand. Like I've lived abroad for a long time, and guess who's responsible for me? Who has to make sure that I have money to eat, to have a roof over my head? It's Todd. It's me. I've had a number of relationships, and I can't say that they all were bad. I mean, I had some good moments with some of these girls, but at the end of the day, they don't care. I mean, it's just the way it is. And that the fact is that you see this experience with Gonzalo, and that his Ukrainian, I don't know if she was ex-wife, separated wife, girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, I really don't know. But clearly neither her nor her family could or would do much for him. And if I could talk to that guy, if I could have talked to him, I would have just told him, get out of Dodge. Don't waste your time there. Leave the country ASAP before he even got the first arrest, before he caught that first time in the jail. Because after that, it was like, forget it. And his family, his Ukrainian family, what did they do for him? Nothing. I mean, as far as I can see, they didn't do anything for him. And so I think for those men out there who think that, oh well, if I go abroad and I have like a wife or something from a different country, that's really going to help. It's like, well, clearly in Gonzalo's case, as far as I can see, it really didn't help that much. And I think when he got arrested, he was estranged from whoever that was, his ex-wife, ex-girlfriend. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I would say this was a sanctioned assassination by the U.S. State Department. I do believe that this was in some way co-opted by the United States. If not actively, passively, there's just too much connection now between the United States and Ukraine. And the fact too that, let's not forget, what did Gonzalo Lira start with? The red pill, or I don't know, I guess maybe he's not MGTOW, but like being part of the, I don't even like to say this word, but manosphere community. He started with the manosphere community. And from what I heard is that Newland, she had it out for him. And she was disgusted with the fact that he was defending men's rights. And so he had the great distinction, I'm being sarcastic, of first being an advocate for men. Wow, that is such a crime in America, in the greater West, to advocate for men. So first he had that, and then he had the second crime of advocating for countries to have self-determination so that they can have a society that doesn't subscribe to global homo values, that uses its own language, that lives according to its own values, where the people aren't all contaminated by Western, what we think of now as contemporary Western values. I don't mean Western in its traditional Greco-Roman sense. I mean Western in what people think of Western today. If a country wishes to establish its sovereignty, like we see, say, with Russia, even even North Korea. I'm not saying that North Korea is the best model. Honestly, I don't really know a lot about how their economy functions, but irrespective of the system in place, anytime a country wishes to have autonomy, all of a sudden it becomes a rogue state. It becomes an enemy of the United States in its proxies, in NATO, in other Western aligned countries. So with that being said, I don't want to extend this any longer than is necessary. But again, main point here was saying that I feel very bad for Gonzalo Lira. Well, I guess he's deceased now, but for his family, I think that the Ukrainians were attempting to send a message that if you oppose us, this is what we're going to do. Let's not forget what happened with, I think it was Darina Dugin, I believe. Alexander Dugin, the guy behind the fourth political theory, a Russian political philosopher. His daughter was whacked by the Ukrainian secret, like it looks something more like the NKVD or something, like something out of like, this like Stalinist or early Bolshevik kind of apparatus, including having this strong Jewish element in it, starting from the top with Zelensky. So let's not forget that they have taken out people that just have ideas, that have different ideas. These are not combatants. These are just people with different ideas. Ukrainians are totally happy doing that. They call Russia the terrorist state. It's like, no, sorry, Ukrainians, you're the terrorist state. And I mean, I don't know what the plans are for Russia. If Russia's going to go, like, say, up to the Dnieper River, frankly, I don't care if Russia takes all of Ukraine. In fact, I would actually prefer that, to be frank, because what's going to happen if they don't take Ukraine, all of Ukraine? What's remaining of Ukraine is just going to be some degenerate westernized bastion, but it will also be like neutered, basically. It will be neutralized because the Russians are not going to permit NATO to be on that little section that remains. So I think at this point, the Russians should just take all of Ukraine, go up to the Polish border. Okay, this is what we're able and willing to do. Now we're serious about what we say. We want to work with other countries, but we will not tolerate being undermined by you guys. So anyhow, I will end it here. It's been a great live feed. And if you have any thoughts or ideas, please drop them in the messages. And that is all for tonight. Take care.